So Guardian is definitely one of the better characters to choose from in Elden Ring Night Rain based on the playtime that I had back in Feb. He seems really well rounded and very easy to pick up. And today we're going to be going through everything you need to know about Guardian heading into the launch of Elden Ring Night Rain, as well as some gameplay from that playtest back in Feb. Today's video is brought to you guys by Instinct Gaming, but we'll hear a little bit more from them later on in the video. Now, Guardian's description reads, Guardian is a bird-like humanoid that employs heavy attacks and has tank-like features. And I've got to say, he definitely does suit that typical sort of tank role, having more health than anyone else in the game. But the thing is, in terms of the movement, where in this game, they're all actually as fast as each other when they run around anyway, not so much in combat, but in terms of actual movement speed, they're all as quick as each other. And so that is usually one negative to playing as a tank. You are generally slower, but he's not slower than anyone else in general movement. So that is a big plus to playing as Guardian, is that you're getting the benefits of being a tank without really having those negatives. Now, Guardian starts games with essentially like a great battle axe sort of weapon, as well as a heavy shield. Now, the battle axe is where his movement is definitely a little bit slower, because obviously a heavy weapon like that, it is a bit slower in terms of the attack speed, but it also deals really good damage as well. So it's still a very, very good weapon to use. His high health in combination with that shield as well is a great combo for staying alive and taking a whole lot of damage. And this is what to me probably makes him one of the easiest characters to play, because he is just a little bit more forgiving. You can take some pretty big hits from your enemies, and it feels like you go down quite a lot less with Guardian compared to a lot of the other characters. Now, his passive ability allows him to plant his feet and brace with his shield, meaning you'll take a little bit less damage through your shield if an enemy hits like an unblockable attack, for example, but you'll also avoid as much of a knockback from enemies as well. His regular ability is Whirlwind, that allows you to create sort of like a mini cyclone around you. From what I remember, this pretty much just like knocks some of the weaker enemies back, almost like staggering them a little bit, and it also deals a bit of damage. It's kind of good for crowd control in terms of just if you're getting swarmed by a bunch of maybe easy enemies, but there's just a lot of them, it's good to just kind of stagger them all at once, and then you can avoid taking some damage. But I will say, I found this one to be not all that useful unless you're in those situations where you are completely surrounded, and that is pretty rare in this game. It didn't feel like you were getting swarmed by hordes or anything like that, so it's not a bad ability, but it didn't feel like it had that much of a use either. Now, his ultimate ability, on the other hand, this one is awesome. It causes you to leap up and dive back down to deal some sort of like area of effect damage. Not only does it deal good damage, but it's also just very fun to use. And it's also great for getting your teammates back if they're downed, because as far as I remember, this actually deals enough damage to pretty much one hit them back to life. So if your teammate goes down and you use this on them, I could be wrong, but at least from what I remember, that was just an instant revive, which can come in pretty damn clutch in some of those boss fights. Now, before we go any further, like I mentioned, today's video is brought to you by Instinct Gaming. Now, if you're watching this, I can assume you're a gamer, and if you're a gamer, I assume you know how expensive this hobby can be, especially when you're constantly buying new games each and every month. Instinct Gaming allows you to buy games a whole lot cheaper, buying straight from the developers and cutting out the middleman, which you can clearly see a lot of people love doing from the 4.7 star Trustpilot rating from over 750,000 reviews. You can buy games for every platform, whether those are old games, new releases, or even pre-orders. We're talking about Elden Ring Night Rain in this video, and as you can see, you can already pre-order it on Instinct Gaming for nearly 20% off. If you're already buying games, why not save yourself some money and do it cheaper through Instinct Gaming? Head to the link in the description where you can use my link to not only save yourself some money on games, but also support me and the channel massively. And as always, a big thank you to Instinct Gaming for sponsoring today's video. Now, here's a graphic from the Elden Ring wiki that shows his progression as you level up and all the stats involved. Obviously, red equals HP, blue equals FP, and green equals stamina. Now, obviously, he has a really good health pool, which is his biggest strength. It's a few hundred higher than anyone else in the game, so he is definitely a lot tankier than all of the other characters, especially the characters like Recluse and Duchess, for example. I believe he has around 600 health more than both of them. So obviously that does suit his playstyle quite a bit, but he does also have really good stamina too. He has the best in the game out of the 4 that I played, so that is also really handy too, but he does obviously lack a bit in terms of FP, which doesn't really matter too much because you're not really going to be spellcasting with him. The only time this is a negative believe it is with like Arts of War on your weapon and stuff like that, where you will still drain a bit of FP, but for the most part, it doesn't really affect his playstyle. Now, I'll be honest, I don't usually love playing the sort of tank type of role in most of these sorts of games, but I really did love playing his Guardian because, like I said, he's not any slower than the other characters. So when you're trying to get around the map, it's not like you're at a disadvantage. I was a bit concerned that as the map closes in, I was going to just get stuck in it and would be slower than everyone else, but that is not the case. He moves at the exact same speed as everyone else. And although, yes, his swing speed and stuff with the bigger weapons is a bit slower, they obviously deal more damage too. So he's actually really fun, and he's not quite as much of a typical tank playstyle as you would get in a lot of other games, just because he is still pretty damn quick when you run around. Because of that, I feel like he is probably the next easiest to learn aside from Wilder, and potentially he is even easier to pick up as Wilder just because he's obviously got a bit more health. So like I said, he's a little bit more forgiving. But regardless, I think those two will probably be the most popular, at least early on when everyone's trying to sort of learn the game, because they are definitely the two easiest to pick up, at least from the 4 that we played. Obviously, in terms of the new ones that we don't know too much about yet, there may be some that are even easier, but these two definitely did feel like they will be sort of the jack of all trades type of characters. Now, his regular ability, like I said, it isn't really anything special, so I feel like that is one area where he's maybe lacking a little bit, but his ultimate is really decent, and like I said, it's very fun to use as well. It definitely comes in clutch in a lot of those boss fights, or even, like I said, if you are kind of swarmed by enemies, a big area of effect attack can also be really good in those situations as well. Overall, he is definitely a very well-rounded character. I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy him. I think also just the fact that he looks a lot different than the others. Duchess and Wilder both just look pretty normal. Recluse obviously looks pretty different as well, but the fact that our boy Guardian is like a freaking eagle in a suit of armor, I think that makes him stand out quite a bit, and he does look very cool. So I can see him easily being one of the more popular characters in the game, and that's probably a good thing because, like I said, he is a very solid character to choose from. And I know that in my games, when I had a Guardian on my team, I felt a little bit safer because I knew that that character was going to tank a lot of damage and sort of take a lot of the aggro from those more difficult enemies. So I think Guardian's going to be a bit of a fan favorite in this game. But that is essentially it for everything that you need to know about Guardian in Elden Ring Night Rain, guys. I'm keen to hear all of your thoughts on him down below, whether you think he looks fun or not. So be sure to leave a comment. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.